Listening to the Bax and Nagle show when it's live can be a real drag.
Imagine how we feel. You're in the car, you're 20 minutes from work, you don't have time to listen to everything on the show, you're way too busy, and you're in the middle of stuff.
If there was only a way for you, the dedicated Bax and Nagle listener, to enjoy the show when you're ready for it.
Imagine if that sort of technology existed.
And imagine if it were free.
Talk to me, Goose.
Well, great news. Every Bax and Nagle show is on demand at your fingertips 24 hours a day.
And it won't cost you nothing.
You can listen to the show whenever you damn well feel like it at your convenience.
All you got to do is go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Rock102.com, and the Rock 102 mobile app. It's easy.
And tell everybody what it costs.
It's free.
The Bax and Nagle On Demand Podcast, brought to you by Curry Honda, Memorial Drive in Chicopee. Experience the best at Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock. Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock. It's 5:33, and Bon Jovi with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102. It's going to be overcast today, a slight chance of a shower, but it's going to be a frosty, cold 77 degrees. So that'll be the good part. Overcast tonight, low of 62. Tomorrow, cloudy and a high of 74. It's about 73 degrees right now in downtown Springfield. Comedian Jamie Lissow is going to be at the Funny Bone in July 13th. His Better Off Dad tour is blasting through town, so he'll be on the phone with us later on today. And we got lots of other stuff. Loads of stuff. Bax and Nagle on Rock 102. Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock. It's 5:51, and Nirvana with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
It is going to be overcast today with a high of 75. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds with a high of 73. It is 75 right now in downtown Springfield.
Hollywood Trash is brought to you by Western Mass Masons. Call them for all your foundation and chimney needs.
Somehow you still care about what's happening in Hollywood. So, from Tinseltown, 3,000 miles away, it's Steve Nagle's Hollywood Trash.
Steve Burns, or as you know him as the OG host of Blues Clues, is launching a podcast this fall for all the adults who grew up watching him.
Isn't that a requirement?
What, that they must become a podcast host?
At some point, everyone needs to have a podcast.
Yeah. Well, you got one.
I do.
Everybody's got one.
Backstage's Musical Podcast, brought to you by Metro Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram and Chicopee.
There you go. I wonder whose Blues Clues is brought to you by.
I don't know.
All right. It's called Alive, and episodes will be released on a weekly basis. It'll focus on what it means to stay human in a complicated world. The idea originated from Steve's viral video in 2021 for the show's 25th anniversary. He said there are thousands of podcasts you can listen to. This is the one that listens back. I really want to continue what we started decades ago for us. It was all about curious investigation. It was about looking a little closer, about asking the right questions, about following the clues that helped lead us towards greater understanding. So there you go.
You know, there might be some people that think this is like a pretentious, self-serving type of thing, but damn it, if I don't love myself some Steve Burns.
A lot of people do. And matter of fact, he lost his hair. That was one of the reasons why he stopped doing the show, because he started losing his hair. And he looks like Moby now. With
he
the
does.
Glasses and the bald hat, but now he's wearing a ball cap. The bald guy's wearing ball caps. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We try to cover up the fact that we lost it all.
The thing is, and this was true of Blues Clues, I don't know of anybody that comes off more sincere than that guy. I don't know how you fake that.
No, he's a pretty genuine dude.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell.
I wish I knew how to do that.
You'll never figure it out.
Probably not.
No. Martha, some famous people are Nepo babies, and you didn't even know it. Here's a list of celebrities who have famous parents. Some are kind of obvious, but I bet you didn't know all of these. Martha Plimpton from the Goonies.
George Plimpton?
No. Her dad is actor Keith Carradine from Dexter and Fargo. He's the brother of Robert and half-brother of David.
I did not know that.
Lily Collins from Emily in Paris. Phil Collins is her dad.
Right.
Tim McGraw, his dad, late baseball player. Tug McGraw.
Tug McGraw.
You want a Tug McGraw?
Sure we do. Let's stand in line.
LMFAO member Red Foo. He's the son of Motown founder
Berry Gordy.
Yeah. Mason Gooding from the Scream reboot. He's Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son. Margaret Qualley from The Substance. She's the daughter of Andy McDowell. I didn't even know Andy McDowell had a daughter until just now.
I don't think the more you know.
Yeah, it is the more you know. Rapper Shauna. She's the daughter of blues legend Buddy Guy.
Oh, no kidding.
That's kind of cool.
How about that?
Singer Coco Jones. She's the daughter of ex-NFL player Mike Jones. Not Mike Jones that calls here, yeah. Bryce Dallas Howard.
Ron Howard's kid.
That's Ron Howard's kid. And Taylor Durden from The Pit. She's the daughter of Bryan Cranston and Robert Dearden.
Huh.
Well, there you go. Now you know.
These are fascinating little insights.
Listen, I like to give a little fun facts every once in a while about Hollywood trash.
Well, mission accomplished there, Steve.
Because there's really not a lot of trash to talk about anymore. After weeks of rumors and speculation, it seems safe to say that Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom are done. A source says, quote, Katy and Orlando have split but are amicable. It's not contentious at the moment. Katy is, of course, upset but is relieved not to have to go through another divorce, as that was the worst time of her life. Katy and Orlando first got together in 2016. They split up in 2017, got back together in 2018. They've been engaged since 2019 and share a daughter named Daisy Dove, who turns 5 in August.
From what I understand, and I've been reading up on this quite a lot, part of the problem in that marriage is that he took a bunch of his friends and went on this trip, this long road trip.
Yeah.
To destroy the One Ring of Power. And he was gone forever. Took him forever to get back home. But eventually, the One Ring was destroyed in the fiery bowels of Mordor.
I think you're referring to something that I don't even know about.
So you know what but you don't. So do I have to explain it to you?
Yeah, I don't know what you're referencing.
He's there with a couple of smaller guys.
Yeah.
And one of the guys had got a ring, and his job is to get rid of it because he doesn't want the ring. It needed to be resized. I don't know. It was like the wrong metal. I don't know. And then they called themselves hobbits. I don't know what that is, really, but apparently it was all about destroying jewelry.
Are you referencing The Hobbit? The plot to The Hobbit?
No. Something completely different.
I never really saw that one, so it was hard for me to pick up on what you were talking about.
Trust me when I tell you it is so appropriate.
All right.
The reference is magnificent.
Well, maybe.
I've never been prouder of something more in my life than I am right now on that reference.
See, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Dude, when you get a chance to blow like 20 hours of your time, you need to watch the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy.
I don't know if I can do that.
25 hours tops.
Yeah. I've seen Lord of the Ringworm.
Yeah, well, that's different.
That was a long, drawn-out process that took weeks to resolve.
Yeah. And then
just a little cream, and you had to wait.
And that was also a ring that needed to be dealt with.
The Social Network Part 2 is in the works. It'll be based on an expose the Wall Street Journal did on Facebook. No word if Jesse Eisenberg is coming back to play Mark Zuckerberg. How could you not? I mean, he did it so well the first time.
I think he's a terrible actor. I just can't stand him.
Kim Kardashian was in Los Cabos, Mexico this past weekend, where she was spotted having fun on the beach until she stubbed her toe on a humongous clam.
I'm sure she must have had something to say.
Oh my God, the last time I saw someone nail a clam that big was when Ray J threw his purple-tipped womb dagger into my brown bearded liver curtains before showering me with albino tadpoles in that 6-day purchase on YouPorn for $39.95. Can't even get through that.
I know. I'm still stuck in the curtains.
Showered in albino tadpoles.
Caitlin?
Well, I never got that done and dirty with your mother, Chris Kim, but I once strapped on my tool belt to perform some handiwork. First, I warmed her up by shiplapping her and tonguing the grooves. Then I used my man hammer to Bone Depot her septic system.
are you trying to say?
What I'm trying to say is I finished by plastering her soup cooler with nut spackle after she performed a donut smile on my knob Vila. This old blouse.
Or this old spouse.
This old spouse.
Right, yeah, sure, yeah.
I nicknamed that the Salty Carl. And that is your Hollywood trash on Rock 102.
The East Village Tavern Beer Tent is
Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock. It's 6:13, and Led Zeppelin with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
It is going to be overcast today. Could see a spot shower or two with a high of 75. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 73. It's almost like that heat wave never happened.
I've forgotten all about it.
I was expecting it to be cooler this morning, though. It wasn't quite. I mean, it's still
Well, it's
humid.
not 100 degrees.
No, but it's still humid out. You know, what's your dew point? Did you check your dew point?
I don't have my dew point information handy. I could look it up if you really were desperate to find out.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a new fight going on in the town of Huntington. There's a new one.
What's going on in Huntington?
This is from the dog officer. Remember Jim Helms? We had him in here years ago. He was the guy who ran that doggy. It was like a dog training camp.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Well, he's the dog officer in my town, and he put this up on Facebook, and we'll probably have him in here to talk about this because there's this new law that went into effect in town. My name is Jim Helms, the current dog officer of Huntington. Both the dogs and I need your help. We're calling all dogs. All the bitches, get ready. Last Monday, June 23rd, the town adopted new dog laws. Let me be clear, as the primary stakeholder, I do not recommend the new dog bylaws. In fact, I stated 2 months ago I would resign if this passed. Although I just received my appointment letter for another year, I'll be resigning on June 30th as I cannot in good conscience enforce the rules. What I'm asking for, please contact both the town clerk and the select board for a revote to change the bylaws. Please like and share this everywhere. Why? Both residents and myself were at best misled, if not lied to, during the conversation at the town meeting. Comments by the board like, we have to follow mass laws. West Hampton just had to change their bylaws. I do not believe this to be fully truthful. And a couple of examples. Under Mass Law, Chapter 140, Section 145B. You know that one, right?
I haven't gotten past 145A.
Oh, all right. Well, the town can fine a person if their rabies certificate expires up to $100. Not a mandatory fine, and we could actually provide a warning. But the new Huntington law bylaws require a $25 fine 1 day after the expiration of the rabies certificate. Well, that seems a little much.
Are you fined $25 every day? Infinitum?
See, that's what I was unclear about. This is why we're probably going to have him in here to talk about this. Plus your dog license becomes void and you must reapply. Fines quickly go up to $100. Yes, I know rabies is required by mass law, but who among us forgets or waits the next vet visit until they remind you? Since I accepted the dog officer's position, I felt my job was primarily to help the dogs of Huntington. Currently, if a town resident or myself finds a loose dog, I post a missing dog alert on the town Facebook page, and except for a few exceptions, found the owners within a few hours. I return the dog, verify license and rabies status, and if not current, the owner must bring up to date within 10 days. No fines, no hassles. So he's basically giving you a pass if you find your dog running around and you still don't have the license. Listen, this is your final warning. Get the dog, license up to date. Under the new laws, the first offense, $50, second offense, $100, and up to $500 per day.
Per day?
Yeah. No option for a verbal or written warning, so these are mandatory. Loose dog, $50. No collar, no tag, $50. Pickup fee to be set by July 1st. Holding fee to be set by July 1st. Possible out-of-date license, $50. Possible out-of-date vaccines, $50. This does not include reinstatement costs. Fines for your dog accidentally getting loose could cost you hundreds of dollars. At the town meeting, both the clerk and a select board member stated that this was at my discretion. If that was true, there would be that option in the bylaws. Under the Mass Chapter 140, Section 169, If I did not follow the law, I could be fined no less than $100. No maximum listed, and this could be per offense. And it gets worse. If you mail in your dog license and you made some mistake or you incomplete it, it'll be the sole responsibility for the owner to complete within 2 weeks or you forfeit your fees. What is this, like a Gestapo dog laws all of a sudden? You may not even know there's an error. Your dog license becomes void if your rabies certificate expires, which means more fees. Back in February of 2025, the town clerk and I were in discussions, and I was provided a preliminary copy of the new bylaws. At that time, I sent in many suggested changes as I felt the bylaws had many problems. At one point, stated to the town clerk I would resign if approved as is. Shortly thereafter, I was informed she talked to the board and everything was all set, and I would not need to change how I was performing my job. I never received a request directly from the select board, nor received a finalized copy of the bylaws prior to the meeting to discuss. I felt lied to and blindsided. It appeared one of the other select board members was also blindsided as he was surprised I spoke up against the bylaws and later stated he believed I was read in and accepted the proposal. Please help stop this law. I call it the human shock collar law. I like that.
Yeah, when you get the bill, you'll be shocked.
Shocked, right. Only punishes, does not help. Email the select board and the town clerk asking for a second meeting and a new vote on Article 19 dog bylaws. Share this with everyone in town. Talk to your neighbors, dog lovers, and your friends. One person suggested we have a dog sit-in at the town hall. But if I bring my dog, he's going to eat the cookies.
Oh, without
That's
a doubt.
The problem.
Without question.
If anyone has friends in the media, TV, newspaper, whatever, pass it along. So we'll probably talk to him soon.
Now, the good part about it is the vaccine for a dog for rabies is not that expensive. Probably, you get I think it's a 1 year version of it and the 3 year dose. Mm-hmm. 3 year dose is probably about $100. Unfortunately, it costs you like $500 to walk into a door into a vet's office these days.
Yeah, but
so it gets a little bit more expensive.
There's clinics out there where you can find if you don't. Let's say you already went to the vet visit, the rabies certificate expires. There are places you can go.
Oh yeah,
and just get that done without having to go through the fees.
Right, and that's why I'm saying that's the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we can all agree that sometimes, getting a booster or getting a shot or whatever it might be, we forget. It just slips our mind. It happens. This structure of fees,
I know, it seems a little
is outrageous. I mean, I can understand a town imposing a fee if they catch your dog, he's out loose or whatever, right. a leash law.
And he's saying that in the thing, like whatever. You try to give people the benefit of the doubt. The dog gets out sometimes. Try not to fine you right away.
But this reminds me of like the Huntington dog catcher going out there and just taking dogs just because he wants to take the dogs. It's like. Enough is enough here. This is just in the town of Huntington. This isn't like a state mandate or anything like this.
Supposedly, they told him that this was already adopted in the town of West Hampton as well. But we're specifically talking about Huntington and this law, these bylaws that were voted on last week. And I say it all the time, and I'm not the best at it. I rely on other people to tell me what's going on sometimes because of the way things are posted in small towns, the way things are handled in small towns. A lot of people don't show up for the meetings, and I'm one of them. I don't show up for the town meetings, and most people don't.
Small towns or big towns.
But
it's human nature not to be fully involved in all that stuff.
But this is how things get passed and because when people don't show up, you got the idea of one going, you know what, we should have all these bylaws in town and we should make it really expensive for people and you don't even know what the reasoning is. You don't even know if the person who came up with these bylaws are just completely misinformed by how things should be working, or they got a bug up their craw because they're upset about the way somebody's dog may be running around or something like that. I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody of anything.
Right.
I'm just saying there's things. This person doesn't seem like a dog owner that came up with the bylaws.
No, because I think most
Right.
listen. I love my dog. Don't get us wrong. Like sometimes we forget. Oh yeah, we're supposed to give him like the heartworm medication, or we're supposed to give him the flea and tick stuff, and sometimes it slips your mind because you got a life to live. This kind of stuff. Certain vaccines. You may miss the date, and then all of a sudden you're like you get caught up in other stuff, and then you get like a $500 fine.
Yeah,
get out of town.
It's ridiculous. And so, but here's the other thing. They focus on these dog bylaws, but what about the pussycat bylaws? How many cats have I seen? Stray cats just roaming around, and there's one.
Well, stray cats strut.
And they got stray cat style, right?
That's right. Yeah. That's exactly it.
But I got one that comes up, and it happens to my neighbor too. This rogue cat who looks pretty healthy. It's not like the cat's falling on hard times.
Right.
It's this cat that comes around every once in a while and then urinates all over your bushes and your front porch and all this other stuff. Where are those laws? I never see anybody get in trouble for having a cat that just roams the neighborhood.
Yeah.
We seem to give a little too much freedom to the pussycats instead of the bitches.
Yes. And sometimes you got to keep your eye on the bitches.
Yeah,
especially since their rabies vaccines expire every 1 to 3 years.
Well, the pussycats don't fall under the same rules as the bitches do.
It's 6:25 with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102. Hi, it's Bax from Rock 102. It's 6:27 with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
Liam has the full forecast for you.
Hey, if you miss any part of today's show and you're going to listen to the podcast later on, you should know that it's brought to you by Curry Honda and Chicopee. Experience the best. You can hear the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, the Rock 102 app, which, by the way, you should all have downloaded on your cell phones by now. Great way to catch up with the show. And again, all brought to you by Curry Honda of Chicopee.
Yeah. Are you ready to laugh?
I am more than ready.
All right, let's laugh.
It's Bax and Nagle's Joke of the Day
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you.
on Rock 102,
I make you laugh.
Springfield's classic rock.
Can't read that one. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
As a woman was leaving the bank, she suddenly remembered she'd forgotten her car keys inside. She went back in and asked everyone, but nobody's seen the keys, right? She searches her purse again. Oh, no, I left the keys in the car. She ran to the parking lot in a panic, only to find the car missing.
Missing?
Right? Yeah. She called the police, reported the car stolen, gave them the license plate number, and admitted the keys were left inside. Trying to calm down, she nervously made the hardest call of her life to her husband. Stammering, she told him the car had been stolen. He thundered back, I dropped you at the bank. You didn't take the car. And she sighs in relief and thanks God and then asks him to come pick her up. Her husband replied, sure, I'll come just as soon as I convince the police I didn't steal your car. You see, because she called and said the stolen car, and he's driving around in the car. And
yes.
You know what? Maybe one day we can tell all those dirty jokes.
Yeah, that would have been better.
If we're going to be like a threatened to be laid off or threatened to be let go.
That's the week to do it. There you go.
We can do it. So there you go.
Bax and Nagle in the morning on Rock 102, Springfield's classic rock.
Here's your West.
8:31 with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102. It's time for news. Here's local radio icon Steve Nagle.
Thank you, Bax. What's that blinking light?
That's across the hall.
That's not us.
I don't think that's
somebody
us.
else.
That's somebody else.
Remember that guy up in Hadley who had the plutonium?
Yes.
A Hadley man accused of storing toxic chemicals and explosives in his home was in U.S. District Court in Springfield yesterday for a detention hearing. Ooh, detention. After school every day for a week.
Was he tardy?
I don't feel tardy.
I've got my pencil.
During Wednesday's hearing, arguments were presented and the judge determined that 43-year-old Jacob Miller presents a danger to the community and that he'll remain in custody pending all further proceedings. He was arrested in April after the FBI raided his home in Hadley and reportedly found multiple guns, child pornography, and dangerous chemicals and explosives.
Not to distract anybody from the actual story here, but it's pronounced Hadley.
You know what? We all pronounce it our own ways.
You're the only one I know who pronounces it the wrong way.
Didn't you not see my history video about how it was the first deli in Massachusetts?
I don't believe that's true.
And they ate aspergrass sandwiches?
Asparagus.
And this guy being held for a lot longer than he thought. He's eating aspergrass right now.
That may very well be, but I believe it's Hadley asparagus.
Somebody's eating his aspergrass.
Well, that's probably more likely, yes.
After the initial raid, Miller was released under multiple conditions. One of those was to allow the Commonwealth to remove hazardous materials from his home. However, Miller allegedly lied to officials about certain chemicals he moved after he was allowed to go back in home to retrieve clothes and his cat. He forgot to tell them he had Fabuloso under the sink, along with the uranium and all that stuff that he was. Yeah,
yes, of course.
Wednesday's court documents revealed that the government is continuing to look into Miller. The FBI stated that Miller has reportedly sold and shipped approximately 60 items of plutonium across the country and overseas, the majority of which has not been recovered by authorities. Miller has an extensive history with law enforcement. Back in 2014, while he was on probation for child pornography and possession of an explosive device charge, he received a cease and desist letter from the Massachusetts Radiation Control Program after finding out that he was selling depleted uranium on eBay. Miller also allegedly lied to officials about having a large amount of toxic mercury in his home. He likes the periodic table of elements.
Yeah, he really does. Why couldn't he have just like oxygen? Isn't that a perfectly good element that's not all that dangerous unless it's like set on fire?
Well, love is like oxygen. You get too much,
you get too high.
But not enough, and you're going to die.
You're going to die. Well.
Miller faces several charges, and if convicted, could face up to 15 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of up to $250,000.
Do we know what his plans were with all this stuff?
He had a website called Own the Periodic Table. I don't remember. I don't have the exact name of it. But he was selling, where was it? Like Collect the Periodic Table was the name of it.
I see.
A website appears to be connected with the enterprise that lists a full periodic table for $140. A small amount of plutonium alone was listed for $500. The affidavit filed with the federal court in Springfield last week disclosed the FBI's ongoing investigation into the matter. Miller allegedly shipped out plutonium about 60 times between December 2020 and March of 2025, according to FBI Special Agent Daryl Hunter, said in an affidavit dated June 20th.
Are there a lot of collectors of all the elements? I mean, a lot of guys out there going
I'm sure
want all that radioactive material?
I'm sure there is. I mean, you got people who they have that whole Rockin' Jim show down at the Big E every year.
Yes.
So I'm sure that there are the super enthusiasts who want every element of the periodic table. It's like getting the holy grail of elements by getting uranium.
But you do realize that on the periodic table, and I don't know how much you know about this, that there are some gases on the periodic table which are very hard to contain. Some noble gases, inert gases. Like, for example, I happen to be a very big collector of methane.
Oh, yes, and producer of methane as well.
In fact, I would you mind if I showed you?
No, not today.
It would require you to pull my finger.
I don't have the ability to do that right now.
Right, here it is.
Go ahead and reach over. I can't reach that far.
Come on, go ahead.
I can't reach that far.
What are you nervous about?
I'm not that into the collecting of gas.
Steve, it's for science.
I know people who are like into things so much. This is a science experiment, right?
Yes.
I know people who are like into things so much. I know this guy.
You got a buddy?
I got a buddy who's into collecting whiskeys, and he'll buy like a $300 bottle of whiskey and never open it. He doesn't have an alcohol. I'm like, what kind of alcoholic spends $300 on whiskey and doesn't even open it to enjoy it? And he explains how this thing is gonna, erupt in value down the road because it's this particular, he's like, it's serial numbered and.
All right, I can maybe understand collecting certain things that appreciate in value over time.
Yeah.
But if you're never, ever going to open it and spend $300 on it, you've wasted your money and time.
Yeah, but are you wasting your money because that's his thing?
Does he plan on selling these things?
I mean, he does drink whiskey, but he won't open the expensive bottle. He collects the expensive bottles and then, maybe has one snifter full a month of some other thing that he was gifted or got or whatever, but he has this collection of these bottles that it's just like you're never going to open them. What's the point of having them if you're never going to enjoy them? I guess he's thinking as an investment. Somebody will buy these down the road, which there probably will.
There probably will be.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. That's
people have weird hobbies.
They do.
Yeah,
they truly do.
I don't know what. I mean, this guy had a lot of weird hobbies. And gross ones too. But
you don't have to share them.
No, well, he was already charged with all that stuff. But I don't necessarily think this guy might have been like, I'm on the terror watch list because I'm selling uranium. He's probably just selling the elements because he's some kind of science nerd and is so into it, that he was keeping the stuff inside of his house.
But the thing about that is, there's certain elements that have there are certain elements that have like a half-life.
Yeah.
And so they don't last very long.
No.
Yeah, like they just, break down or oxidize or, whatever. These things have to be, protected. And all of a sudden, your investment in, I don't know which elements would evaporate quickly, but you spend all this money on something that a week from now could be gone.
Yeah.
And it's not like it was stolen. It's just gone.
Yeah.
It's what a stupid thing to collect.
What do you collect? CDs? Records?
Yeah, I kind of do.
What a stupid... I mean, anybody could say anything about what you collect.
True.
I have antiques at my house. I have like an old phonograph.
The fact that you're
what a stupid thing to collect.
Especially since you're a man under the age of 70 that's referring to it as a phonograph.
A phonograph.
That's like putting your food in a Frigidaire.
Well, that's what it was called. Was a phonograph.
Yeah, well, I know, I get it.
When you crank the handle on it. It doesn't even work. I just like the idea of it there. That's a stupid thing. Listen, that's a dumb, geeky thing to do.
Yeah, I understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, my music collection is pretty large. It takes up a lot of space. I can't say I've listened to every single thing I have.
That's what I'm getting at. I mean, you're never gonna. You will never get to listening to every single thing that you own.
No, because I've inherited most of it, and to sit there and go through several thousand records and CDs is really hard to do.
But what are you going to do with it? You're not going to do anything with it. That's what
this is my hope.
Yeah.
That at some point I can take that collection and burden my children with it.
Yeah. See, this is where I'm going with it. Eventually, my kids are going to have to get a dumpster to throw out all the crap that I collected over the years.
Well, I'm hoping it won't go all into a dumpster, but I mean, it's possible. But once I'm gone, that's okay.
You're gone.
Yeah. Once I'm out of the picture, they can do what they want with it. But for the time being, I enjoy having it.
Well, like I said,
and still add to it from time to time.
Dan Williams and I had a conversation a few years ago about, because I was cleaning out my mother's house and all this other stuff, and he said, you know what? You spend your entire life collecting things, and then some idiot kid just winds up throwing it in the dumpster. And he was absolutely right about that.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to get rid of it.
Thankfully, I know my kids have some level of interest in music, so it probably will not all go to waste. They'll pick and choose the things they want, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
But it's pretty large, and it's a big pain in the ass to move.
Well, you don't want the big pain in the ass to move. You don't want to have to do all that.
It's like books.
Yeah.
It's like, man, once you read the book, am I going to read it again?
There's enough people out there that would take the records, though.
Probably.
Yeah.
Some of them are worth a little bit of cash.
Yeah, but many of them aren't. I mean, you have to have like this rarity, a rare pressed album in order to, have it be worth some value. Sure, you can go sell it at a record store for $10, $15, $20, depending on, what it is.
Oh, yeah.
But for the most part, they're not really worth anything.
It depends on who's buying it.
I remember, my dad had these books of pennies. Like, you ever see those blue book fold-outs, and he got the pennies, and he was collecting all the pennies, and he was putting the pennies in there. In actuality, unless you have, rare coins, things that don't exist or very little of them exist in the world, that's the only time that those things are actually worth something. Most of them are only worth a penny. I guess, if you got a penny, is a penny. But if you have a misprinted, Denver mark on the side of the penny or whatever the parameter is to make the thing valuable, those are very rare. People aren't making tons of money doing that.
Well, remember when stamp collecting was a thing?
Oh, stamp collecting.
Do people collect stamps?
I'm
anymore?
Sure they do.
I mean, do they? I mean, I don't know. I mean, when I was a kid, I was given a stamp collecting book and did it for about 6 months, and that was about all I could really do. But back in the olden days, you could have a stamp that was only worth a penny. Yeah. Now it's worth remortgaging your house.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why you should have bought the forever stamps years ago when they started coming out with those. But the post office still puts out limited edition artwork.
Yeah, no, I get that,
so
but it's
there are people that still collect that
who
stuff.
Who are these people? And
I don't know. Do you really want to know who they are? Do you
not really.
I
just want to. Maybe names and mugshots are all I really want to see. I don't need to meet anybody with a stamp collection. Nor do I want anyone to show up on a Free Music Friday with their stamp collection. Where's Bax? I want to show him my stamp collection.
Have I showed you my stamp collection? You got to see this. It's a beautiful. Look at this. This is a Susan B. Anthony stamp from the. Who was the other one? Who was the woman's suffrage? Was it Susan B. Anthony? Suffrage.
Sure.
Was she women's suffrage?
She was a suffragette.
Yeah. This is from the. This is the 100th anniversary of the women's suffrage unit.
George Washington Carver. You know he invented peanut butter.
I like peanut butter.
Me too. That's why I bought the stamps.
This is exactly why we bought these stamps.
By the way, if you lick the back of the stamp, you don't get a peanut allergy.
Oh, well, that's helpful to know.
Good to know. Fun fact.
Your Pioneer Valley forecast today is going to be overcast. Could see a spot shower or two with a high of 73. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 71. It is 73 right now in downtown Springfield. I'm Steve Nagle, and that's the news on Rock 102. Yeah.
You know what? Do Springfield's classic rock at 6:53 and the Beatles with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
It is going to be overcast today. Could see a spot shower or two with a high of 73. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 71. It is 73 right now in downtown Springfield.
Rock 102 presents the Classic Rock Summer now through Labor Day weekend. You listen to Rock 102 all summer long for details on how to grab your share of the summer stash of prizes, which includes a $25 gift card to Store and Tavern. That's a nice gift card for you. You would win every weekday through Labor Day. If you want to win, just go to rock102.com. You listen to Pat Kelly every weekday afternoon, and boom, perhaps you win. It's all brought to you by the Leah Auto Group and Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock.
The Hawkman has a stamp collection.
Of course he does.
And a baseball card collection.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
He also has autographed baseballs.
Ah.
He doesn't pitch them, but he collects them.
Like Richard Lewis had that autographed baseball that he couldn't find, and it turns out his nurse was hiding it somewhere in her.
Oh yes, I do remember that now.
Yeah. And Larry David's cell phone. That's how he found that it was missing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that you jogged my memory, I remember that quite well.
Some guy said, I have a tramp stamp collection. Oh, the one with the arrow pointing down that says DNA dumpster. That's my favorite.
The one that says loadout zone only.
The latest food trend on TikTok will make you cry, and not because it's funny, ridiculous, or sad. The tears are just automatic. People on TikTok, the crazy world of TikTok, are savoring the deliciousness of raw onions. Some people are biting into them like an apple, which seems more like a challenge than a culinary hack, but others are more civilized. Okay, as dumb as this is, at least it's not eating Tide Pods or standing on milk crates or, something.
Or fermented fish.
Was that another one you saw?
Oh, have you seen that one?
No.
It's like this, I forgot what it's called, but it's like this Dutch or Scandinavian thing. It comes like a red and yellow tin, and the moment you open it, apparently the stench is so bad. I think it's like fermented shark meat or something like that.
Okay.
The moment you open it, like everyone just like backs up a good 10 feet because it consumes the room with a horrible fishy smell.
Don't give Pat Kelly any ideas for his latest video.
Yeah, I don't want him bringing that stuff in here.
Anyway, you just slice a red onion horizontally so you have a flat piece. Then you add some lemon juice on top, drizzle olive oil over it, add some salt, pepper, and various spices like fresh dill or everything but the bagel seasoning, and finish it off with capers, balsamic, and jalapenos for some heat. If you're worried about the bite of the raw onion, try soaking it in ice water. That doesn't sound bad at all.
No, that's not even a challenge.
How is that a challenge if you're putting all of these things on it? To me, you're making a salad. You're putting lemon juice and olive oil and salt, pepper, and spices.
And that's true, though. If you take like a red onion and soak it in water, some of the pungency comes out of it. That's actually true.
Do you want that, though? Don't you want the pungency of a red onion?
Sometimes if I get something like at a restaurant that's got like a salad, I'll say, go easy on the onions, because sometimes the onions can be a little overwhelming.
If you care, there's also a little cat fighting on TikTok over who invented the concept. Not that it matters. Whoever invented the salad invented this. That's all this is a variation of a salad. If you just take an onion and putting all that stuff on it, you just made a salad. It's just heavy on the onion. That's all. It's so dumb when people come up with this stuff and they think like it's some kind of innovative thing that they did.
Like the one chip challenge was novel for a half a second.
Yeah.
Eating that fermented shark meat. That's another thing. This is not really a challenge.
You want a good cold salad?
Sure.
You got a smoker at home? Or do you?
I got a grill I can use.
I made a good cold smoked salad. You take like peppers and onions and whatever you want. You could pretty much do. You could do asparagus if you any kind of vegetables that you want to put in there. Mostly, obviously ones that aren't gonna. You can't put avocado in there. That's not gonna work. But if you take onions and peppers and mushrooms, let's just say, right? And you put it on the smoker at a low heat for about 45 minutes, like a 180 or something like that. Get a nice smoky flavor. Then you take it off and you put it in the fridge for a couple of hours.
Okay.
And then you drizzle it with some whatever. You can do lemons, you can do vinegar, you can do olive oil, kind of a mix of that. It is a delicious cold smoked salad, and
I bet it is. Sounds good
because you're not trying to like ruin the vegetables by cooking them all the way through. You want a little like a al dente bite to them.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it comes out super good. And I use that Kinder's Cowboy seasoning.
Okay.
That buttery cowboy, I think. I don't know. You ever have a buttery cowboy?
No,
before?
I don't. Is that like a rusty trombone kind of thing?
It does sound like that. Buttery cowboy. I've had a buttery cowboy. Well, yeehaw! Who wants some cold smoked salad? But yeah, that was a quick way to do that. It was very good. So
comedian Jamie Lissow is going to be joining us next hour. His Better Off Dad tour is coming to the Funny Bone in Hartford on July 13th. He'll be joining us in just a few minutes. It's 6:59 at Rock 102.
And now, Bax's View from the Couch, brought to you by Rocky's Ace Hardware, your grilling destination. Weber, Big Green Egg, Uni Pizza Ovens, and Traeger wood-fired grills.
Hey, good morning, sports fans. How the heck are you? Folks, yesterday I reported on a story about a situation that happened in Chicago in which a fan was ejected from a game in the 7th inning after he thought it would be absolutely hilarious to throw hurtful barbs and taunts at Arizona Diamondbacks second baseman Ketel Marte. After all, who doesn't love being brutally heckled by a dope who feels that his ticket entitles him to act like a straight-up belligerent jackass? I know I do. In this case, the still unidentified fan thought it would be hysterical to distract Ketel Marte's at-bat with some painful insinuations about his mother. You see, Ketel Marte's mother was killed in an automobile accident in the Dominican Republic in 2017. The result of this comment left Marte in tears, at which point the 22-year-old fan was ejected from the stadium by security. Yesterday, Major League Baseball announced that they have imposed an indefinite lifetime ban on this idiot from all Major League ballparks. Not just Chicago. He's been banned everywhere. If he moves to Boston, he's not getting into Fenway Park. If he moves to New York, he's not getting in over there either. He's been banned for life. Last night, the Chicago White Sox displayed a sign on the scoreboard supporting Ketel Marte. So much so, the White Sox chose to beat Marte and the Diamondbacks by a score of 7-3. Now, jerks attending baseball games is nothing new. I'm sure you recall the Cleveland Guardians fan ejected earlier this season for yelling to Boston's Jarren Duran to kill himself after it was revealed a suicide attempt from 3 years ago. That guy was given a lifetime ban as well. I think what I'm trying to express here is a ticket gives you a seat. It does not entitle you to act like an insensitive and heartless creep. Otherwise, you lose that seat. In the case of these two dopes, they've not only lost their seats, they've lost them at every major league ballpark in America. Forever. As I said yesterday, it also means that the only ones deserving of public humiliation and embarrassment are the two guys that left their compassion and humanity in the parking lot of the tailgate party. Because they certainly didn't bring those things in them when they entered the ballpark. But hey, enough of my yapping. Sports brought to you by Rocky's Ace Hardware. What's the difference between a hammer drill driver and an impact driver? You need to talk to that guy Robbie at East Long Meadows Rocky location. Good people, rock-solid service like Rocky, a power tool specialist at every Rocky's Ace Hardware location. I'm Bax. That's my view from the couch. Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock. It's 7:12, and Sammy Hagar with Bax and Nagle at Rock 102.
It's going to be cloudy today, but maybe a spot shower or two. High is 75. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 73. It is 75 right now in downtown Springfield.
Jamie Lissow has been a longtime comedian. He's coming to the Funny Bone in Hartford on July 13th on his Better Off Dad tour. And he's on the phone with us right now. It's Jamie Lissow. Good morning, Jamie. How are you?
I'm good, Bax and Nagle. How are you guys doing this morning?
We're good. So you're coming to the Funny Bone in Hartford on July 13th. How exciting must that be?
That's right, man. Dude, Hartford. I used to hang out in Hartford because my friend, I went to law school for about 24 hours.
Oh.
And my friend went to, it was not Hartford, but it was right around the corner, Quinnipiac University in Camden.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so we used to travel to Hartford and drink a lot.
And
so I have these fond, fuzzy memories of Hartford.
You drank a lot and weren't able to pronounce Quinnipiac.
Did I say it wrong?
No.
Right.
I'm just saying. After a night of drinking, you're not able to say it.
No, that's part of the field sobriety test in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think after a night of drinking or before a night of drinking, I could spell Quinnipiac.
You
ever spell a word so wrong? By the way, I was on Google just this morning, and I spelled the word so wrong that Google had no suggestions for me. I clicked suggestions, and it said, go back to college.
What was the word?
The word was, dude, this is embarrassing. It was not even it was the word, it was the word definitely. I was just having like a lapse. You ever have that where you just can't spell? It was the word definitely. I don't think on the spot. I would almost rather go Quinnipiac than definitely at this early hour.
That happens to me all the time. Like I'm fumbling for a word. I know the word. I can hear the word in my head for whatever reason. I just can't spit it out. That's why I think that's one of the reasons why my comedy career ended as fast as your law career did.
Did you try the comedy for a minute? Did you give it a shot?
I actually did it. Well, Steve's still doing it.
I'm currently doing it. He used to do it.
I did it for 9 years back in the 80s, but then gave it up once radio turned around.
Yeah.
Good for you, man. I feel radio. So I feel like comedy and radio are very hand in hand. I actually did morning radio for 5 years when my ex-wife was pregnant with my son. I did 5 years of morning radio, and I look upon that time very fondly. And whenever I call morning radio shows, I get excited because I'm like, oh, man, it's so interesting because I was on that other side of the country. We did a 5.5-hour talk show in Rochester, New York. I've always been the sidekick. I'm always the guy behind the guy. So I was the sidekick. And it's a very, very fun job, but you guys know radio. Like, as the years went on in radio, they had more and more responsibilities for me. Like, at first it was like, just be funny. And then it was like, you got to learn the board, you got to track, you got to I was the worst radio employee you've ever talked to. Not to get too inside baseball, but they asked me this one time. They go, hey, we want like stand-up comedy clips coming in from break. Can you cut a bunch of clips from stand-up so we can, do it coming in from break? And they go, we want you to 100 wave files. Not to get too inside, but instead of doing 100 wave files, what I did was I just never did it.
That's the way most radio people do it. They'll say, "Oh yeah, no, we'll do it," but we never actually get around to any of it.
But you're right about the condensed jobs. Yeah. I'm cleaning toilets here at night as soon as I'm done.
Dude, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, in your case, though, I've heard you're the one that ruined it, and so I feel like that's fair.
You should always clean up after yourself.
You have to clean up after yourself. You have to. Now we have a connection now because I opened for Rob Schneider years ago at this place called the Hookie Low up in Chicopee, Massachusetts. It no longer exists, and it was one of these. The Polynesian food was to die for. But it was something Rob Schneider would not put in his mouth, and he had his own organic buffet in the green room. And I'm like, all right, this is how this guy stays alive.
You want to hear something crazy? Yeah. By the way, not the greatest review for a comedy club when somebody goes like, "How's that club?" They go, "Oh, the Persian food is great."
Polynesian,
Polynesian.
Yeah.
I probably not even joking. Rob Schneider and I, the first time we ever met was at the green room at the Funny Bone in Buffalo, New York, and this is not a joke. I swear to God, we both pulled raw kale out of our bags, and then we just stared at each other. It's a true story. And I've never seen anybody who traveled with. I used to travel with just like vegetables in my bag. I've never seen anybody do the same thing. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I go, we're going to be tied at the hip forever.
Oh yeah. I got to tell you, I don't know if too many people that travel with produce. I mean, organic or not, usually underwear, pair of socks, but bringing your own vegetables, I mean, that seems a little odd to me.
Comedy is usually drugs.
Yes.
A big bag of something else green. This is the nerd version of the road.
Well, the nerd version of the road, and you think about all the places that you go to that serve nothing but like fried hamburgers and French fries. Yeah. You get sick of that after a while, and you don't want to. You actually want to continue doing your comedy career, so you don't want to die on the road. So bringing your own vegetables is not a bad idea.
Yeah, but to enjoy mozzarella sticks all across the country, what job gives you that opportunity?
This is a good point, because on the road, I remember early on, I would go, hey, like you go on a road trip, you go, I can go to McDonald's, I can eat this, I'm going to the comedy club for the weekend, I'll have mozzarella sticks. At some point I realized, this is my life every week. So I can't do this, right? Like if I'm there every week, I got to pack up some kale, dude. Or this is going to be short-lived. And so that is why you nailed it. Like once a couple months if you're going out, all good if you're on the road. But once you realize this is my life, you really do have to pack. I think we both also had sardines as well. I remember when COVID hit and they said you got to, people were freaking out and buying food that would not expire for like 5 years. I looked at my pantry and I was like, I'm already good. This is what I eat.
Good to go. There you go.
So when did you start writing with Rob? Because you've had a long association with this guy.
So I was doing morning radio, and Rob Schneider called in, and he was doing a gig that weekend, and I mentioned I did comedy, and he goes, why don't you come to a set and open for me tonight? And I was like, are you kidding? This is crazy. He was always my favorite guy out of that crew, and so I was very excited, and I went, and we were at this college, and right before I went on stage, I wasn't even scheduled. Rob just goes like, this guy's going up. They go, the college has an improv group that has just been formed, and we were wondering, do you mind if they do 20 minutes before you go on stage? And I'm going to tell you guys something. If there is comedy in heaven, you get to follow a college improv group that has never performed before. because it was the best set I have ever had in my life. People were just like, "Oh my God, prepared material." It was like one of my best sets ever. And then Rob, I get off stage. I don't even know if Rob watched me. I hadn't seen him before the show very much. And I got off stage. He goes, "Hey man," he goes, "great jokes. I'd love to talk to you after the show." And I actually sat. It's this thing I do. I love writing jokes for my friends. I sat and watched his set, and I wrote a bunch of jokes for him while I was watching him. I think I wrote him like 25 jokes. And at the end of the show, I go, "Hey, here's this dumb thing I do. Feel free to throw this away." Probably overstepping at the time. And I go, "Here's like 25 jokes." And the next week, he called me and said, "Dude, I'm using like 10 of these jokes.
Wow.
Let's start talking every week." And
Wow.
let's start. And then fast forward, we ended up writing a show together on Netflix from that early overstepping that I did. And that's how it all started, maybe 20 years ago, maybe.
That's pretty cool how things work out. You know what I mean? Like just on a whim like that. You're invited to open for him, and here you are now co-writing with him and doing all these TV shows and whatnot.
Sometimes I go in a wormhole. I don't know if you ever do this. I do it with comedy. I do it with everything where I go, if that one thing hadn't happened, like I wouldn't be talking to you guys. Like it's so wild. Like just one little, and even like gushing to him on a radio show. The reason he asked me to open was because right before he hung up, I was like, I'm telling this guy how much I love him before we hang up. And I could have been a cool guy and not done anything, but I go, I got to tell this guy, like, what a fan I am and how much I love him and how he shaped my childhood. And, like, I keep thinking, like, if I hadn't jumped in, I was on a show where my host talked 99% of the time, and every once in a while I'd be like, uh-huh. Like, and I go, I got to tell Rob Schneider how much I love him. And I think back to that, and him asking me to do the spot and me writing the jokes. I always think back to that stuff, man. I even think back to, all stuff where you end up getting married to the wrong person, and then that leads to the right person. Or, man, that butterfly effect stuff really, sends me down a wormhole sometimes. A lot of times there's weed involved.
Well, usually that's a thing. Are you smoking weed when you're on Gutfield?
I've been doing a lot of kale.
Yeah, I said Gutfield.
A lot of kale.
A lot of kale.
Yeah, hard to light, but I'm sure you got a good buzz off the kale.
I gotta ask you about this. I know it's the #1 rated late night talk show, but who writes Gutfeld's monologue?
So Gutfeld's monologue is punched up by, we call them the Joes.
Yeah.
So it's Joe Mackey and Joe DeVito, two veteran comics, very, very funny in their own rights on stage, panelists on Gutfeld, but they do a lot of the punch up for Greg's monologue. But also, I think Kat chimes in. He's got other comics that will help out with certain monologues, but most of it, all the really funny stuff, it's Greg.
Now, listen.
Gutfeld.
I know he's a very popular TV host. What I think doesn't really matter, but some of these jokes are like, dude, like that could have been written so much better. And I have all these ideas. So if he wants to talk to me, could you just please say Steve Nagle in Springfield, Mass. Has some ideas for you that they could land a little bit better. And I'm not trying to, insult the two. Actually, I am trying to insult the two
you absolutely are.
That are writing the jokes. I just feel that they could land a little bit better.
Dude, I will pass it on. I will, now that you've mentioned you're a fan of his, maybe I'll get you an opening spot for him.
Yeah.
You can write him 25 jokes in the back of the room.
And then Gutfeld's like, who's this bald jerk in Springfield thinking he knows what he's talking about?
What a shameless bastard I'm working for. It's unbelievable. Jamie Lisso's going to be at the Funny Bone in Hartford on July 13th. His Better Off Dad Tour. Jamie, it's great to talk to you. Best of luck, and enjoy Hartford when you come back.
Thanks, Bax and Nagle. We'll see you July 13th. I appreciate you guys.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Morning.
Jamie Lisso with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102. 726 with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
Liam has the full forecast for you.
Hey, this week on Baxy's Musical Podcast, my guest is Brian Sweet, the author of the book Steely Dan, Reeling in the Years. It's actually a really interesting biography of the band. It's been out for a while, but it's going to be out on paperback later this summer in August. You'll be able to hear that interview wherever you find the podcast, the Apple Podcast, SoundCloud, Spotify, the YouTube channel, rock102.com, and on the app. Monday, my guest is Neil Gust, originally a student at Hampshire College, along with his bandmate, the late Elliott Smith. The two of them created a band called Heat Miser. They released 3 albums. A new record of rarities has just been released. His band Number 2 is also another a great record. They released now 3 records. They just released one just a couple years ago. It's a really interesting interview. And again, it's all brought to you by Metro Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram at Chicopee and Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock.
You know, today is National Work from Home Day.
Why aren't we home working?
I don't know. I would love to work from home.
I do enough work at home, but yet, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, sometimes I like coming in just to see people.
Well, that's you.
Yeah, I know that not everybody shares that, but I mean,
we have all this equipment now. We don't need to actually be here anymore.
No, that's true. But with very, very, very few exceptions, I kind of like everybody who works here. I'm not going to name names. I think they know who I'm talking about.
What the exceptions or the people?
The exceptions.
Yeah.
Most of the people here I'm fine with.
Yeah, but we hardly see them anyway. So what's the difference? Why do you need to feel the need to come in here? What do you see? You see what, 2 people upstairs that you probably see for maybe a half an hour before you go home?
Well, when I leave the studio, I go and say hi to that one lady, and then I say hi to that other lady. I say hi to that one lady. I say hi to that one lady, and I talk to Alex for a little bit. And then that's my day.
Yeah.
So I see people. It's not always the same people. I mean, sometimes I see some of the other folks that work here. But, at least I see them.
How many years have you worked here and then you weren't even introduced to somebody who, remember we always talk about that one guy that worked here for like 2 years before we finally found out what his name was.
Oh, I know.
So what's the difference? You might as well just stay at home.
We had a lady come in here part-time every single day for like 3 years.
Yeah.
But she would come in after I left. So I didn't know who the hell she was.
Right.
And finally I got a chance to meet her, and she was acting like I had known her forever. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here.
Well, people feel like they know you just from listening.
You don't trust me when I tell you. I'm a mystery.
But
I'm an enigma wrapped inside a mystery.
We celebrate National Work from Home Day. That obviously June 26th is a chance to recognize the technological and cultural evolutions that allow us as a work culture to be as productive anywhere in the world as we are in the office. I can be just as productive rolling out of bed and going over to my podcast equipment than I can be coming in here. Just as productive.
Well, Steve, I don't think that's going to be a real option for you anytime soon, but you never know.
Well, you don't know. You don't know.
I think it's just that you don't want coming into this building anymore because it's disgusting.
Well, if they were to give us a new one, perhaps.
Please get out of town.
Remember that big broken... It's like working for a company with broken promises. We don't have contracts. We have broken promises.
Right.
That's what we sign.
Yeah, that's not just this company, though. That's many companies in this business.
Yeah, but this one seems to be really driving it home. Hey, we're going to get you a new bit. At Christmas time, this guy stands up, all confident, pounding his chest. I, as the new general manager, will deliver a brand new building in the spring of 2025. Well, guess what? It's summer now.
And we're still
And we have
here.
no new building and not even a golden shovel to prove that we have something going on.
It's 7:31. News is next to Rock 102. Here's 7:33 with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102. It's time for news. Here's local radio icon Steve Nagle.
Thank you, Bax. You looking for some uranium? I know a guy.
I actually, I'm all set with uranium.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm not really in the market for it these days, but you never know.
There's a guy in Hadley right now.
Hadley.
Well, it used to be anyway.
Hadley.
Place closed up after years in business. How can we support small business in this area if we keep throwing these people in jail?
Imagine the liquidation sale. We've lost our lease. Everything must go.
All the elements must go.
We've got them all. We've got oxygen. We got neon. We've got radon. We've got Ameris. We have mendeleinium. We've got them all.
We have all the ones with the ons at the end of them.
Yeah, right.
A Hadley man accused of storing toxic chemicals and explosives in his home was in U.S. District Court in Springfield on Wednesday for a detention hearing. During Wednesday's hearing, arguments were presented, and the judge determined that 43-year-old Jacob Miller presents a danger to the community and that he'll remain in custody pending all further proceedings. He was arrested in April after the FBI raided his home in Hadley and reportedly found multiple guns, child pornography, and dangerous chemicals and explosives. After the initial raid, Miller was released under multiple conditions. One of those was to allow the Commonwealth to remove hazardous materials from his home. However, Miller allegedly lied to officials about certain chemicals he moved after he was allowed to go back home and to retrieve clothes and his cat. Wednesday's court documents revealed that the government is continuing to look into Miller. The FBI stated that Miller has reportedly sold and shipped approximately 60 items of plutonium across the country and overseas, the majority of which hasn't been recovered by authorities. They're looking for a scientist, a gray-haired scientist, and a teenage boy in a vest and a DeLorean.
Really?
For questioning about where this plutonium might have gone.
Is there a flux capacitor involved?
Hey, how did you know?
I don't know, just a guess.
Are you part of the investigation? Miller has an extensive history with law enforcement. Back in 2014, he was on probation for child pornography and possession of explosive device charges. Where was the dangerousness then? You know what? It was over 11 years ago. I'm sure he's not into the child porn anymore. He probably doesn't have any explosive devices. And then what do they find at his home? Child pornography and explosive devices.
Now,
like he wasn't going to do this again.
The pornography is bad, but so are all the toxic elements. The whole thing is not good.
He faces several charges, could face up to 15 years in prison, yada, 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 supervised release, and a fine of up to $250,000. He's fighting the fine.
Yeah, okay. He's not going to fight the charges, but that fine, that's unfair.
Speaking of weird things people have, a Russian Harvard University researcher was indicted by a federal grand jury on Wednesday in connection with trying to smuggle frog embryos into the U.S. through Logan Airport.
Like a whole bag of tadpoles and stuff, or pollywogs?
Like a pollywog, yeah. 31-year-old Kasina Petrova is facing 1 count each of smuggling goods into the U.S., concealment of the material fact, and making a false statement, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Petrova was arrested at the airport after flying from Boston to Paris on February 16th. She had flown with non-hazardous, non-infectious, and non-toxic frog embryos in her checked bag at the request of her supervisor at Harvard Medical School, Dr. Leonid Peshkin, according to court documents. A canine dog alerted to the bag while it was on the baggage carousel, which led customs. You got canine dogs sniffing out embryos?
You got frog sniffing dogs. That's a real specialization.
It said, it checked baggage. Okay. Which led Customs and Border Protection agents to search it, the U.S. Attorney's Office said. Federal authorities allege Petrova initially lied about having carried any biological materials into the U.S. when questioned about the frog embryos and samples. During an interview under oath, Petrova claimed to be unsure whether she was required to declare the embryos, a claim she maintained while being interviewed by the Associated Press in April.
Oh, yeah, but you always get that customs card on international flights. Of course you got to claim that stuff.
But text messages with Peshkin and another colleague warning her that she needed to declare the embryos and samples indicate she knowingly did not declare the items, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Following her arrest, Petrova was detained by ICE for months without being charged. She was finally charged via criminal complaint in mid-May, but a federal judge in Vermont ordered her release less than a month later.
What happened to the frogs?
I don't know.
I mean, did they hatch? We all of a sudden we got a bunch of Russian frogs?
You know, little frog embryos hanging around? The judge ruled that Petrova was unlawfully detained as neither she nor the frog embryos was carrying a posed danger. It does seem a little weird for something like that to be held with no trial, a chance for a lawyer, an arraignment, or anything like that. I mean, that kind of cancels out the whole speedy process of.
No, I get that, but had you just claimed it, it probably would have been fine.
Right, but here we are talking about two different cases. One guy who had years ago child pornography and explosive devices in his house, and he was all right. He was deemed, not that dangerous. And then here he is again 11 years later doing something just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, and gross, where this person was just having frog embryos in her bag.
The law is the law, Steve. Who are we to pick and choose?
I don't know. I just find it weird how
It is. No, it's very weird.
How the discrepancies between two cases like that. Don't you find that weird?
I find it weird that that someone's like doing serious jail time on a frog charge as opposed to child pornography and the smuggling of dangerous elements.
They're frog embryos. There's a croak shy of a criminal mastermind. Nyop, 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 nyop. Ribbit.
Those frogs are going to talk.
A lawsuit will move to trial involving a Pittsfield woman who sued her car repossession company after she claims her vehicle was wrongfully taken, a federal judge has ordered.
Steve, I believe it is pronounced Pittsfield.
Have you ever been there?
I have.
Then I don't know if you're pronouncing it correctly. The judge, the maestro of U.S. District Court in Springfield, filed a memorandum in order denying the defendant's motion for summary judgment, meaning the case will move to trial. The woman, Jessica LaValle, filed a civil complaint in 2023 against the company Skyline Recovery Service, Inc. after she pleaded with an employee of the car company not to tow her car. She also named American Recovery Service, Inc. and Capital One Auto Finance in the lawsuit. The parties' dispute boils down to a single issue: whether the repossession of the plaintiff's vehicle over her repeated oral objections but without physical obstruction or threats of violence could be found by a jury to constitute breach of peace, said Mastriani's memorandum and order, explaining that a reasonable jury could swing in favor of LaValle. Thomas McCraw Jr. The Boston attorney representing Skyline Recovery Services declined to comment on the pending litigation. The defendants argue there was no breach of peace here as a matter of law because the repossession occurred on public, not private property. No police were involved, and there was no physical altercation. I believe the judge's decision makes repossession in Massachusetts safer for debtors and repos, said attorney Yitzhak Zellman, who's representing LaValle. The lawsuit stems from an April 2023 incident when LaValle, who financed the purchase of her vehicle through Capital One Auto Finance, fell behind on her car payments and defaulted on the loan. While Capital One claims it sent LaValle a notice in January of that year that her car would be repossessed because of lack of payment, LaValle testified in a deposition that she did not receive the notice because she had moved. On April 15th of 2023, a Skyline Recovery Service employee used a license plate reading camera in his truck to identify her car. Her vehicle was on a public street in Pittsfield in front of an apartment building. Her teenage daughter witnessed the incident from the apartment. LaValle claims she told the employee she had a payment plan with Capital One and begged him not to tow the car.
All right, two things. One, it's pronounced Pittsfield. Secondly, the life of a repo man is always intense.
Yes.
Keep that in mind.
The plaintiff repeatedly told the employee he could not take the vehicle, begged him not to do so, cried on the public street. The altercation took place on a busy street on a Saturday morning, creating an embarrassing public spectacle. LaValle then claims the employee allegedly requested the key to the vehicle and threatened her with additional charges if she did not turn the key over. The charges were said to be between $500 and $800. When she asked to retrieve some of the belongings from the car, she claims the employee did not give her enough time to recover all of them. After the repossession, the plaintiff called both Skyline Recovery Service and American Recovery Service in an attempt to recover the rest of her property, but the car had already been sold at auction.
Ain't that always the way?
Yeah. LaValle claims the defendants violated the Fair Debt Collection Protections Act, breached the peace by repossessing her vehicle, committed unfair and deceptive trade practices, and violated common law conversions or personal property taking. Now, on the surface, somebody would be like, well, if you don't pay your car bill, you deserve to get it repossessed. But, here we are talking, we'd be talking out of both sides of our mouths if we didn't mention the fact that, there are people out there that, genuinely have a hard time paying for things. 1 in 3 people need food assistance in this country.
It's interesting you talk about this in a repo case because I recall from the film, Let's Get Sushi and Not Pay. Very much like not paying for the repossession of your car.
What movie is that?
Repo Man? Never saw Repo Man?
Never saw Repo Man.
You never saw Repo Man?
No.
Emilio Estevez and Harry Dean
I
Stanton.
loathe Emilio Estevez.
There's nothing wrong with Emilio Estevez.
Yeah,
That was his greatest role.
Yeah, no, his greatest role was in Men at Work, where he was the trash man.
No.
Where he played with his brother, Charlie Sheen.
Yes, I'm sure that was a tour de force in cinema.
Yeah.
But Repo Man is a cult classic.
Have you seen Men at Work 2?
Have you ever opened up the trunk of a car?
Yes.
When you've been told not to?
Yes.
When you've been told don't ask questions about what's in the trunk of the car?
My point being is that there are these companies out there that, give loans to people that maybe shouldn't be given loans to begin with.
That's why they're normally given an interest rate of like 25% or more.
Right, but I mean, when you see, hey, we'll approve anybody.
Yeah, no credit check whatsoever.
You know, it's even more deceptive. Selling steaks out of a back of a refrigerated car in a parking lot of a mall that has
very few customers
that
going
has
to
no
it.
customers going to it. I'm just throwing it out there. Your Pioneer Valley forecast today. It is going to be cloudy with a high of 72. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 71. It is 72 right now in downtown Springfield. I'm Steve Nagle, and that's the news on Rock 102. Oh, yeah.
To Springfield's Classic Rock. It's 7:52 in Queen and David Bowie with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
It is going to be cloudy today with a high of 72. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 71. It is 72 right now in downtown Springfield.
You know, if you're a wine drinker, that Rock 102 wine passport, that's a hell of a deal. I mean, you're getting like $150 in gift certificates to area wineries for just $75. I've done the math. That's half off.
Half off?
Half off. You enjoy a taste from some of the best vineyards in the area, including Mineral Hills Winery, Wine House and Vineyard, and Hardwick Vineyard and Winery. Again, $150. It's only going to cost you $75.
Hey, you can't beat that.
That's a great deal. You can get yours today at rock102.com, part of the Classic Rock Summer from Rock 102 Springfield's Classic Rock.
Let's see. What else is going on here?
You see this arrest of the Liver King? You know who the Liver King is, right?
Yes.
The Liver King is this guy who, if you've not seen him, is like preposterously jacked. Like he's like
sicky, whatever. Hey.
Like the human body is not really designed to be as jacked as this guy is, and his whole premise is that he eats raw meat and works out, intensely. So like he'll eat raw liver and like raw testicles, and turns out, you may find this hard to imagine, when you see the guy, he admitted a while back that he was on steroids.
Yeah. I wouldn't even have guessed that.
Totally blown away. Never saw that at all. Anyway, he was arrested in Austin, Texas on Tuesday because he was looking to start a fist fight with Joe Rogan. Now, Joe Rogan has talked about this guy and apparently called him out on the steroid thing. And this guy, the Liver King, whose real name is Brian Johnson, not the same guy from AC/DC, totally different guy, decides he's going to go all the way out to Austin to have a fist fight with Joe Rogan. Now, Joe Rogan is like a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So, I mean, in theory, Joe Rogan could probably hold his own against this muscle-bound, roid-raging, testicle-eating freak. But apparently he was arrested by police, mug-shotted and everything. May still be in jail for all I know. I know his testicle-eating empire isn't quite what it used to be.
He's got an innie. That's how many steroids he's done.
Yes. Actually,
everything has been sucked up inside of his body.
Actually, some things on him are actually outies because the abs have like actually pushed his belly button out like it's the knob on your stove. It's disgusting. Anyway, you imagine you're a guy in jail waiting for your trial and the other inmates know that part of your deal is eating testicles? How do you think that's going to go over in the cell block?
I don't know. I wouldn't mess with that guy.
You can feel the roid rage from your TikTok. I
Yeah.
mean, you can feel it like pulsating into you.
You don't even make eye contact with that guy. You
No.
just leave him alone. Leave him alone. It's like a caged animal who's very upset.
Yeah.
And you don't want to tick him off even more. So I don't think he's going to have a hard time in the prison itself.
I don't know.
Yeah.
See, it's the kind of guy
Not
where
even
if you have a
prison.
number of guys holding you down in the cell block, you might not be able to fight your way out of something like that.
It's not even prison. It's just jail.
Whatever.
You know, it's not as bad as being in a state facility or something. But
I wouldn't pick a fight with Joe Rogan, and I certainly wouldn't pick a fight with this guy. I'm a lover, not a fighter, but I am not a liver or testicle eater either.
you know what? I'd actually wouldn't mind seeing a fight between these two knuckleheads.
You really?
Yeah.
Who do you think win?
I think it would be a draw.
Rogan's got the skills, and he's pretty pumped too, but he ain't jacked to this level.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it would be. I think it would be kind of a draw. One guy can use his strength, and the other guy can use his skill.
Yeah.
You put two of those two together, you don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not a violent guy. I have been in only a very few fist fights in my entire lifetime, so I don't know what's a better thing to have: skill or muscle, strength. I don't know which one actually
probably
gives you an advantage.
You would probably need a little bit of both. You have neither.
Oh, there's no question
Yeah.
I have neither.
Right, but you can't appreciate one or the other because you have none.
I have no muscle. If I were
Right.
punched by either one of these guys, it would be like in that scene in the Temple of Doom where the guy reaches into the guy's chest cavity and pulls his heart out.
Yeah.
That would be kind of like me. There'd be like nothing separating your hand from my heart. It would go in like you're punching a bag of Jello.
Which is why we should step back and let these two fight it out.
As if it's some sort of benefit to society to see these guys go into a scrum.
Joe Rogan, that's a pretty good feat to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
What is that? Is that like wrestling and karate? What is it? What is jiu-jitsu?
I'm not it's some sort of martial art. I'm not a big
All I know is these
expert in
guys
it.
are really disciplined.
Yes.
Yes.
One, though, is disciplined by all the steroids he puts into his body.
Well, no, that's not.
And the other one eats testicles.
There you go.
yeah.
You think Joe Rogan puts steroids into his body?
I don't know. I mean, he's pretty. He doesn't
look like a-
I don't know if he's a steroid guy.
Yeah, it doesn't really look like a steroid.
He's
guy,
definitely
I
a
think.
supplement guy, though.
But he was like UFC, wasn't he? Wasn't he the UFC guy? Or
He
wasn't
still is the UFC guy.
Okay, so he's the UFC. This is how much I pay attention to Joe Rogan. So he's got he probably trains and he probably does all these things to make him physically fit like that.
Right.
But that's like somebody who you can tell by looking at him that he's like a dedicated guy for his health.
Sure.
For his physical health. Whereas that Liver King guy, he might be strong, but there is nothing healthy about that. The
No.
guy is like, I mean, he looks like a muscle with eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this. I listen. I wouldn't want to have a
Yeah.
body like that.
No. You wouldn't?
No, not like.
Why not?
Well, first of all,
You have
I
the
don't.
V chest.
I don't know if I really need.
No more love handles.
He's got like a 36-pack ab structure there. That's not even close to natural.
He's very physically fit, and he's smart as a whip.
Yeah, well, I don't want to eat liver or testicles to get to that point, if I can help it.
Hey, don't knock it until you try it.
It's 8 o'clock on Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
At the price you need.
As a bit.
And now, Bax's View from the Couch, brought to you by Rocky's Ace Hardware, your grilling destination. Weber, Big Green Egg, Uni Pizza Ovens, and Traeger wood-fired grills.
Hey, good morning, sports fans. How the heck are you? Well, folks, big night for all you basketball freaks out there. Last night, the first round of the NBA draft, and boy, oh boy, was it exciting. Last night, as expected, the Dallas Mavericks selected Cooper Flagg out of Duke, and while that's a tremendous pick, I should point out to everybody that it was the Dallas Mavericks who picked him up. In other words, he'll be playing for the Lakers in no time at all. And then there was everybody else, including the Boston Celtics. Now, after unloading both Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis in what could be misconstrued as a couple of lopsided trades, you might have thought the Celtics had something up their sleeve, perhaps another trade that might have allowed them to get something better than the 28th overall pick. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Instead, they picked up Hugo Gonzalez out of Spain. Now, if you're like me, you might have said, Hugo who? You might have also said, Spain? Well, yes, Hugo is from Madrid, and Spain happens to have a long connection with the NBA. You have the Gasol brothers, you had Ricky Rubio, had a halfway decent career. I'm sure you all remember Wally Szczerbiak when he played for the Celtics back in 2007. He was from Spain, too. So who is Hugo Gonzalez? According to scouting reports, he's a solid defender with what appears to be rudimentary skills as a shooter, and that might be putting it generously. The Celtics will pick things up later today in the second round with the 32nd overall pick. Where are they going to go with that one? Kind of hard to say, since I'm not sure anyone expect them to blow a first-round pick on a guy who can't score. All I can tell you is the Celtics see Hugo Gonzalez as having a lot of upside. But that might be because he's already got the downside already covered. This is why I think something else is coming. Brad Stevens is too shrewd, too clever for this to be the best he can do. I mean, at least that's what I'm hoping for, because so far, I'm tremendously underwhelmed. But hey, enough of my yapping. Sports brought to you by Rocky's Ace Hardware. You know, the best thing about your kitchen isn't even in your kitchen. It's the grill. That's where all the action is. You want to go to Rocky's to get the grill of your dreams. And you can use it all the time, like a Weber, a Traeger, a pizza oven, or a griddle. All the grills, all the gear, all the time at your neighborhood Rocky's Ace Hardware. I'm Bax. That's my view from the couch.
Rock 102, Springfield's classic rock.
Rock 102, Springfield's classic rock. It's 8:11 and Fleetwood Mac with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
It's going to be cloudy today with a high of 72. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 71. It is 72 right now in downtown Springfield. I've been watching old movies while I do the Peloton.
But not the two movies I referenced today.
No, not the two movies you referenced.
Never seen Repo Man, and not a single one of the Lord of the Ring films.
Nope, never one. Not one. Sorry.
Dude, I mean, that's like, I'll tell you what, you want a real workout.
Yeah.
Watch the whole Lord of the Rings series back to back, and then get off the Peloton.
No.
You will be ripped like the Liver King.
Over the course of the last, I don't know, like 5 days or so, I watched Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh, that's a classic.
In
one,
full.
One or two?
One.
Okay.
And I can't believe there is a number two.
What are you talking about?
Well, it's like, how can you continue that nonsense? And then to find out there's a 3.
Yeah.
And then there's even like a 4.
You're gonna find this hard to believe. 3 and 4 were not as good as 1 and 2.
That's what I'm getting at.
Which totally bucks the system in Hollywood.
Is 2 even worth watching? I mean, number 1 was funny. I mean, it was Jackie Gleason drove that role home. Buford T. Justice.
I cannot believe you came from my loins.
When I get home, I'm gonna punch
your mama in the mouth.
Yeah,
that's classic. My recollection, having seen, I believe, both in the theaters, was that I found
saw them in the theaters.
was that number 2 was not quite, say, like The Godfather 2, which was equal, if not better, than the first.
Right.
But on an artistic level, from a cinematic point of view, they were close.
Yeah.
Close to being garbage, but still. But how do you not love the great one in that first one?
Well, it's like this has been going on for. When did it start where they started making sequels to movies because they're like, wait, you can just make a quick buck off of this one, just because the first one was so successful.
You look that up. I don't think I've ever I don't think I've ever heard anyone say what the first sequel was. The first film sequel would have been
What?
Well, there you go. The first movie sequel ever was made was The Fall of a Nation in 1916. So we've been at this for quite a while.
What was it? Fall of a Nation 2, Electric Boogaloo?
Yes. The nation's fallen again, and they're pissed.
Is that what?
I don't think that was. I don't think that's quite it. But I think Fall of the Nation 1 came out in 1915, followed by Fall of the Nation, the 1916 version.
Ah, the 1916 version.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if these were talkies yet.
Yeah, what was that with like, hey, this movie did so well the first time, let's do it again.
Yeah, right.
Fall of a Nation 2.
That's right.
I guess the point being is that I never really watched the entire film. I have all these movies that over the years I've watched in pieces.
Yeah.
Only because they used to, remember TNT and TBS used to have movies on all day long, and it was the same movie, like, the Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I actually saw the full movie when it first came out. I only saw bits and pieces of it because it just kept repeating over and over and over again on a thing. Is there something distracting?
No, I was just curious.
Yeah.
I looked up when Smokey and the Bandit came out. Yeah, no, I did see it in 1977 when it was in the theaters.
Wow, look at you!
I did.
You were just a young pup back then.
Oh yeah,
watching Burt Reynolds and Sally Field on the
Jerry
screen.
Reed, Pat McCormick, Paul Williams. I could go on.
Did
forever.
you know Jerry Reed didn't actually drive the big rig because he didn't know how to drive a big rig?
Couldn't handle the double clutch.
I was. This is like I always find out. I'm like, was Jerry Reed a truck driver? No.
He
didn't even know how to drive a truck.
Country music singer.
They put the truck on a flatbed, so for the scenes of him in the truck, he wasn't even driving the truck.
Yeah, this is the illusion of Hollywood. Anyway,
well, I think it's crap.
Right.
How can you have an authentic movie like Smokey and the Bandit and not have a real truck driver behind the wheel?
So anyway, you watching other movies like in bits and pieces. So what have you seen?
I watched Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2.
Okay.
I think first of all, Dana Carvey was probably the star of that movie.
I would think so too. Yes.
I think he had the most talent versus Mike Myers.
I've actually always thought that.
Yeah.
There's almost like nothing Dana Carvey couldn't do.
Yeah, so I've seen those, and I've seen all these movies before. Wayne's World was one of my favorite. I saw that in the theater. Yeah.
Who didn't?
Yeah, I saw Wayne's World 2 in a theater.
Who didn't?
Yeah, but what was the other one? One Crazy Summer, which is one of my favorite movies.
That's actually a pretty good one. Yeah,
I love that whole the Bobcat Goldthwait and just talking, the way he talks. The way the thing, and the whole regatta race, and the hijinks in that movie. What's your favorite '80s movie?
Favorite '80s movie,
like comedy that you could go back and watch over and over and over again.
Yeah, this isn't in the '80s. This actually goes further than this. But whenever it's on TV or like on cable or whatever, I can't not watch it, and I don't know why. It's the movie. It's a mad, 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 mad world.
I never saw that.
That's
Mel Brooks, right?
No, that's not Mel Brooks. But it's like
I'm thinking of History of the World.
You're thinking of the History of the World. Piss Boy. That's a great one. But no, this one is like it's got everybody. I mean, everybody from Phil Silvers to Don Knotts to Ethel Merman to Jonathan Winters. Everybody is in this film. And it's just like a relentless assault of stupid, stupid stuff. I can't even say it's that funny, but it's just like there's something about that film I cannot look away.
Buddy Hackett is it?
Buddy Hackett, Mickey Rooney,
Spencer Tracy.
Milton Berle.
Sid Caesar.
Sid Caesar. It's the greatest. It's maybe the greatest comedic cast ever put together. And it's all about. I'm not going to spoil the ending. I'm not going to spoil the film for you, but it's all about Jimmy Durante dies in a car accident, and he tells this group of people that witnessed the accident that he's got 50 G's or like a bunch of money hidden under a big W.
Yeah.
And the whole movie is about how they all go and try to get all this money. And it's a big race to the finish.
We got a couple of, well, first of all, we got a call. We got a couple of people. Animal House was a good movie.
That is a great one.
Yeah. 16 Candles.
Rock 102, good morning. Who's this?
Oh, sorry. I was checking to see which. I think I got the wrong number.
Yeah, okay. Very good.
Well, look at all these intelligent people calling here this morning.
Yeah.
16 Candles, that was a good movie.
That's all right.
Yeah, did you watch all those Brat Pack movies? Were you into that? Because that was kind of your era.
It was.
Too.
I watched a bunch of them until I went away to college, and then I was like, that was the end of that because we didn't really go to the movies that much.
What, you were more concerned about drinking copious amounts of alcohol than you were about actually going to a theater?
In fact, Steve, the answer is yes.
Yeah. I Throw Mama from the Train. That was a good movie.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
But, like the whole John Hughes run of films.
Yeah.
Those are big. Those were big like in high school. Everything from Risky Business to The Breakfast Club and all that other stuff.
Oh, yeah. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, somebody else said. That's one of my favorite movies. I think a yearly tradition of me sitting down and watching that, even though I've seen it probably over 100 times, it is. I think that is probably one of the most well-written John Hughes films.
It's been so long since I've seen it. I probably should go back and watch it again.
You gotta watch it
because I did see that in the theaters too, and I remember loving it. But the line that I've never forgot is "Those aren't pillows." That's one of the greatest lines ever.
Right, because that's the thing in the trailer. But when Owen comes up to give them a ride to the train station, that is probably one of my favorite scenes. And I can't remember who. Let me see who the actor's name is, because he's been in a ton of stuff. I don't know what his name is. Oh, Dylan Baker is the actor.
Dylan Baker.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And he usually plays this kind of like neurotic, nervous type character, or
oh yeah,
you've seen that guy before.
Been in a million things.
But he. Let's see if we can. You know what? Let's see if we can pull this up, because this is
literally dreamed.
Hang on a second.
All right.
Stupid thing. Here's Owen coming up. He's showing him all his redneckiness, right? Shower curtain ring, fella.
All right, I'm waiting.
I'm waiting for the dialogue. It takes a little while to get to it, because they're showing the description.
You Gus's son?
I'm Owen. You the shower curtain fella?
Yeah, Del Griffith. How are you? This is Neil Page from Chicago. Hi.
Wipes his chewing tobacco hand and then shakes his hand.
I'm waiting. To drive you to Wichita to catch a train?
Yeah, we'd appreciate it.
Train don't run out of Wichita. Unless you're a hog or a cattle.
People train run out of Stubbville, but he makes the wife get out of the car. She's pregnant.
Right.
And he, get your ass out of the car. And then she gets out, and he's like, no, we can take the bag. He's like, no. She's short. She's strong. But she once had a baby, came out sideways. She didn't scream or nothing. That was the line I was looking for.
Some of the great movies I remember, like the Airplane.
Yeah.
Those were hilarious. Yeah. Still love Caddyshack. I still laugh at that one.
I actually can't wait for that new Naked Gun to come out. That's coming out in August with Liam Neeson as Frank Drebin Jr.
I think it was the second the second movie that I went with a buddy of mine, and like I had a buddy, and I had a massive headache from laughing so much.
Yeah,
because it was just so stupid that I loved it.
But the Seth MacFarlane is directing that.
Yeah.
the new version. So that should be fun. But I have to go to the movies. I haven't been to the movies in a while. I want to go to see that Mission Impossible sequel. It's supposed to be the final Mission Impossible.
So finally there was a mission that was in fact impossible.
Yeah, but Motley Crue said they were stopped going on tour back in 2016, and look what happened to that.
It's 8:25 and Rock 102.
Gene Player.
Day 27 with Bax and Nagle and Rock 102.
Liam has the full forecast for you.
Tomorrow is a open line Friday. As you know, this is kind of a 50-50 proposition at best. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes you folks ruin it. And here's the way we get past that. Remember the rules. No foul language, no hate speech. Try not to act like a dink, and get to your point in 30 seconds or less. If you can do that, then we have a better chance of success. As opposed to some of you meandering people that just don't know when enough is enough. And you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, some people just can't follow the rules. Although I was listening to last week's.
Yeah.
With Mike the Lawn Guy.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, there's nobody ever has called here and said, I'm the doctor from Longmeadow, or I'm the librarian from wherever. Like, it's always somebody in a trade, a plumber, an electrician, a maintenance man, or a lawn guy, or whatever. So maybe we can reach out to.
I think it's some of those people. Most of the people in trades are reasonably intelligent, hardworking folks. I have great respect for them. Many of them. The ones that get nothing else to do but call a radio station or an open line Friday, those are the ones I'm curious about.
Well, it kind of makes you wonder how much they're actually working. You know what I mean? Like, I have a lot of respect for people in the trades.
Sure.
People, they're knowledgeable. They know things about things that I'll never know about.
They know how to get stuff done.
Like electricity, plumbing, things like that, right?
Yeah.
But those guys that I know that do good work don't call radio stations on their free time, because there is no free time.
When you have a plumber that their primary objective is to talk about guys at the supply house and the liquor store he goes to all the time, I think that sheds a great deal of light on the kind of plumbing he does.
Peeling back the curtain and seeing what's going on behind the plumbing, the brains of the plumbing operation.
I mean, maybe you got a small discount at the plumbing supply store, but I can't believe there's a guy at a package store anywhere in all of Massachusetts going to give you a break simply because you called the radio station.
And we don't have a lot of landscapers calling, which means they're out there working hard. Or, as I saw yesterday driving down Westwood here, the one that was sitting on the back of the trailer with the cone out in the road, having traffic go around back and forth. People have to direct their own traffic when that happens.
Sure.
As the man was texting on the back of his trailer. Just sitting there like on a flipped over Homer Home Depot bucket, texting while people are navigating their own traffic past his one cone trailer.
I'm sure he was contacting his customers.
Oh, he's probably Googling, what step am I on the Scott's 4 step?
On the other hand, Mike the Lawn Guy clearly spends a good deal of his day preparing himself for Open Line Friday, and I appreciate the work.
You know why? Because he eats grubs all day long. He's digging into people's yards and eating the grubs. That's how he gets the grass so lush. He's a grub eater.
That's it.
Yeah, he runs on grubs. That's why he's got such a sharp wit.
America runs on grubs.
Grubs, yeah.
I don't think so. It's 8:31. News is next to Rock 102.
Here's your
8:33 with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102. It's time for news brought to you by Big Y, your family market. Here's local radio icon Steve Nagle.
I'm sorry. I don't even know why this headline is so funny, because it's not. But I'm on Channel 3's website.
Yeah.
And they show this, crazed-eyed kid, and it says 19-year-old beats man with plunger, covers him in bleach, and then kidnaps his child. Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
That's an awful story.
It is an awful story, but it's like, I don't know, you turn on the news, and that's like the first thing that popped up on the page was 19-year-old beats man with plunger, covers him in bleach, then kidnaps his child.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a trifecta.
Yeah, that's the
You
guy
get the
that
plunger,
can't wait till Friday.
The plunger, the bleach, and take the kid.
Oh, boy.
By the way, everything has been resolved.
Well, thank goodness.
So I just wanted to let you know that. East Hampton's Health Department
Go on.
has issued a public health advisory for the rubber thread pond after potentially harmful cyanobacteria, more commonly known as blue-green algae, has been detected in the water. Officials are advising people not to swim in the pond, which is located behind the Payson Avenue parking lot. Also, keep pets from playing in or drinking the water. Were people doing that to begin with?
I don't really know whether that's a clean waterway or not.
Both people and animals should avoid contact with algae, even if it's on the shore. It can cause skin and eye irritation as well as gastrointestinal problems if ingested. That is disgusting. That was the pond I did my East Tampon video from.
Yeah, well, good choice. You're not the one that contaminated the pond, though.
No, I didn't drink the algae. That's frowned upon up there.
Yeah, it's harmful. It grows quickly, and if the water looks discolored, has scum, or has a foul odor, you might want to stay away from it. That's what you do with the blue-green algae.
A group of kittens are now safe after they were dumped in Springfield on Monday. Animal Control found them in a bag on Beacon Circle, but thankfully they were found fast enough and not facing any side effects from the heat. They spent the night at the TJO and have officially been cleared to foster. Now the organization has asked for your help in locating the owner of those kittens. If you recognize them or the bag they were left in, please call Animal Control. The TJ O'Connor Center is reminding viewers if you have animals you cannot keep, just please contact the local shelter or the rescue organization.
Too many pussy cats here in Springfield.
A bag full of hot pussy cats were found in Springfield.
Yeah, well, that's you gotta take care of those things.
I don't. How do you do that? You gotta have,
especially since you have TJO, you got Dakin, you got a number of other animal shelters you can take those animals to. Why not just bring them there?
They'll take them.
Yeah.
I think it's the, I'm going to be judged if I drop this off. Hey, you know what? Be judged. Who cares?
You're going to be more harshly judged as the guy that dropped a bag full of cats on the side of the road than you will if you brought them to the TJO, where somebody else might be able to take care of these animals and love them the way they're supposed to be loved.
Now, where do you keep your hot pussy cat?
Not in a bag.
No, the hot pussy cats need to be out in the open.
You gotta let them things breathe.
Let it breathe. Let your pussycat breathe.
Let them soak in all that good air.
Yeah. Oh man. I know somebody who had a dog years ago. That was part of a litter of puppies. I think they were in a bag. They were in a bag tied to a railroad track. And luckily, they were saved before, and then they were brought to a shelter, and that's where they picked the dog up from the shelter.
On a railroad track?
Yeah, people are scumbags, man.
Why would you even think that? What goes through your mind? I'm going to put these things on a railroad track.
I believe they're called sociopaths.
Jesus, man, that's crazy.
Even if, listen, man, I wasn't a big fan of the guinea pig that we had. But I did everything I could to help it.
You treated it humanely.
Of course. Because it's okay, it wasn't my cup of tea, was the little rodent that we were feeding in the house, but I also wouldn't be cruel to it.
The only animal in which I will show any level of cruelty to is, say, like a bug.
Yeah.
If I got to hit a spider with a shoe, I'll do it. But other than that, I can't show any level of cruelty to an animal. I couldn't kill an animal. I know plenty of hunters say, oh, it's no big deal. I wouldn't do it. That's me. That's a personal choice.
I told you I went deer hunting once.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, because that was like a rite of passage up in the farm country of upstate New York.
Right.
And the thing that really turned me off from the entire hunting experience was not killing an animal, but the fact that these idiots are getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning in sub-zero temperatures to go out and wait for maybe a deer to come by. Right?
I know.
So it would be hard enough for me to even bother killing something, but to make that whole situation worse, here we are out in the, my brother's like, all right, we're going out, and we meet all his friends, and we go out in the woods, and I'm wearing sneakers, and
right.
And they're all making fun of me. What, are you going to sneak up on the deer? That joke, by the way, that was 30 years ago. That's still
holds.
Is still the joke. Remember when you showed up with sneakers to the deer hunt?
Yeah, I know. That's great. I went hunting one time with some friends from college.
Yeah.
These were like guys who were like from northern Wisconsin, going outdoors and shooting stuff was what they did. That was their thing.
Which is fine. If that's your bag, I'm not making fun of that. But
yeah, and so I agreed to go.
Yeah.
Right? And the only thing I killed was a 12-pack of old-style light. That was about it.
Well, that was kind of the I think that's the theme.
That was...
Yeah.
I mean, that was the only thing that I knew I could do.
So I
tied the empties to the front of the bumper like a trophy.
We go out
and had them stuffed.
Right? Yeah. See, that's the way you need to do it. That's how you remember the good hunting trip that you had. So they take me out into the woods, and then we all go our little separate ways.
Right.
And it's freezing cold, and then the sun starts coming up because you're not. First of all, you're not allowed to shoot an animal before the sun comes up. It's one of those. They try to make it fair game.
Yeah, well, the animal's got to check in,
Yeah.
They can punch with their punch ticket.
That was a Bugs Bunny thing, wasn't it, where they were checking in?
Hello, Ralph. Hello, Joe.
Right, yeah. Right. And they would check in, and then they would have the fight all day long. That was very much like that.
They were going after the flock of sheep. That's what it was.
I'm 16 years old. I'm sitting out in the woods, and I'm like, this is the worst thing I could think of possibly doing right now at this age, at this very moment. This is not something I want to do. So I think I was out there for about an hour. The sun's finally coming up. It's finally out in the open. And I'm like, I'd rather just go sleep in the car. So I fired the gun into the ground twice to make it look like I almost had a deer, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But it got away.
Yeah, I missed him.
Yeah.
Oh, he was too quick.
So then I went back to the truck and took a nap, and then all of his buddies I'm like, yep, I saw a buck out there. Didn't quite get it. Never quite did that. And then, it was probably, I don't know, a year later where I finally admitted, I never shot at a deer. I just didn't want to be out there with you drunken idiots at 6 o'clock in the morning, sub-zero temperatures. This is the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah.
We're not pioneers. We have a supermarket that has people that do that for you. That's what that whole meat case is for.
Yeah, I got a cousin who is like really, really into it. Like, he goes all over the place to kill. And you know what? God bless him for doing it. If you love doing it, great. It's not. I'm not being critical of you because I'm more than happy to eat the meat that you kill. But I hate dead stuff.
Longtime friend of mine has an uncle who lives in Florida, or he did years ago anyway. He lived in like the central part of Florida, Gainesville area kind of place. And this was back in the 90s when you didn't have the internet to go back and forth with stuff. They would put ads in these hunting magazines.
Yeah.
And they would trade hunting trips with people from across the country.
Yeah.
So this guy would offer, this is what he did. He would go out and hunt wild boar.
Sure.
With a spear. No gun.
With a spear.
With a spear. And he was talking all to us about it. And this guy, I believe this guy. he wasn't just making this up. This is one of those things where he's like, and you better be accurate, because if you're not, that boar is going to kill you.
You want to get him right in the heart, otherwise you're just going to anger him.
So he would put in ads for the hunting in the hunting magazine. Hey, anybody want to trade a hunting trip? I got some wild boar out here. You can come out here and do a spear. And then they put them up for the week or whatever they would do, in their respective locations.
Right.
And this guy would go out to like Montana and kill moose or whatever the hell is in Montana, buffalo or something like. I don't know what do they do out in Montana. But
I think that's all they do.
But he would trade these trips off, and I'm like, wow. That is the weirdest classified ad I would ever be a part of. Do you like pina coladas? Getting caught in a reindeer?
Hey, listen, if it's what you're into, then great. Good for you, man. I just
don't think I've ever been into something so much where I would like dedicate all that time to it.
My cousin has killed bear, turkeys, deer, elk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just he's relentless. He's really good at it. I mean, he doesn't because he'll post the pictures of him hold up a carcass, and I'm like, very good. You bagged yourself another one.
Well, I'm glad we got to the real hard-hitting news.
Who cares? It's the end of the day.
Pioneer Valley forecast today, it is going to be mostly cloudy with a high of 74. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 74. It's 73 right now in downtown Springfield. I'm Steve Nagle, and that's the news on Rock 102. Aw, yeah.
These are
Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock. It's 8:52 and U2 with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
Mostly cloudy today with a high of 72. It is 72 right now in downtown Springfield.
Pretty cool event coming up this Saturday with the Rock 102 Road Crew. It's the second annual Children's Miracle Jeep and Motorcycle Cruise sponsored by Metro Jeep at Chicopee. Starts at 9. You can line up at the register at Metro Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram at Chicopee. It's an escorted ride, takes you to East Hampton, and ends at the Thunder in the Valley concert and fireworks event, which is going to be really, really cool. The proceeds benefit the Children's Miracle Network at Bay State Children's Hospital. Get your Jeeps and your bikes ready to go. Second annual Children's Miracle Jeep and Motorcycle Cruise this Saturday, part of the Classic Rock Summer from Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock.
Let's see. The Mystery Machine might be headed to Duncanville, Alabama, because somebody robbed a Quick Stop convenience store last weekend wearing a Scooby-Doo costume.
Zoinks.
Yeah. Scooby made off with cash and coins. He didn't take any Scooby snacks, though. The suspect is described as a white male, approximately 5'9". The authorities warned that he could get away with it. So they're asking for some help for some meddling kids.
Now, is this a guy, kind of a shaggy fella with like a green shirt, brown pants, hangs out with a meddling dog?
No. They posted some photos of the perp from the store's security camera. The Scooby-Doo costume is a little closer to pajamas. There's no head. Instead, there's just a ski mask over his head, which is perfect for the classic Scooby-Doo unmasking. People have some comments about it. Have you interviewed Fred, Daphne, Velma, and Shaggy to see if they're waiting for Scooby in the Mystery Machine? Instead of an ankle monitor, can we ask for a shock collar? Rut-row, Roggy.
Oh, my God.
Scooby-Doo, where are you?
Yeah.
I think nobody can come up with a good joke. Nobody. Stop trying.
Well,
stop being this news service that says, these are some really funny ones.
Yeah, that's not really that funny. Sometimes it's best to leave it into the hands of professionals.
Yes, the hands of professionals. Speaking of professionals, this photo has been circulated online in the last week or so. Have you seen the exit sign for MGM in downtown Springfield?
No.
Somebody got up there and spray painted actually a pretty good, it's graffiti, but it's like a face, and it says 413 on the face, and it's done very well.
How the hell did they get up there?
Well, I had watched a video years ago because I was always asking that question. How do these graffiti people get up on, you see it even in the like the Longmeadow area, like way up high.
Yeah.
Like how do you get spray paint all the way up there when there's no seemingly way to do that? There was a professional graffiti guy in L.A. who would wait till nighttime when there was less,
Right.
police around, and he would go out and he would basically like do this, like rappel, like he was rappelling off a cliff, and he'd tie himself to the overpass, and he'd spray paint these like mural type graffiti on the thing.
You got to be dedicated to art. If you're going to rappel off the side of a mountain or something like that, or an overpass.
You got to have a lot of balls to get up over that highway sign in downtown Springfield on 91. To climb up that it's pretty secure, but it's getting up there to not only start spray painting, because anybody could probably spray paint if you got up on top of the thing.
Sure.
But to do it in such a fashion where you would need to be almost head on to it. It's actually, you didn't see this?
I haven't been downtown in a week or so. I haven't seen it.
I'm trying to see if I can find the picture here. This.
Wow.
Yeah, somebody got up there and
takes
did
a big
that.
set right there.
And that's pretty well done, too. It's got some detail to it. And
it's very talented.
Now people are looking up at Exit 5 right now as they're driving through downtown Springfield.
As opposed to looking at the traffic on the road.
Well, you don't need to worry about that, do you?
Well, yeah, you do. You need to keep your eyes on the road.
Well, most people don't.
Well, most people don't, but they should, because that could be a problem area.
Don't look at it on your phone. Just look up in the sky.
Some of those graffiti guys are like tremendous artists,
Yeah.
and you would think that if they applied themselves to say more creative pursuits, they wouldn't be having to hang from a signpost or a guardrail or whatever. Maybe if they applied themselves in a different way, they could become respected artists.
Says the two men who drew penises on each other's rear windows for an entire winter.
Yeah, but I knew that wasn't going to be a permanent penis on your windshield.
You don't know that. I did it on the side of your car. I'm lucky, as pointed out by some listeners, that salt could scratch the paint.
It could.
And you could have a permanent penis drawing in the back of your windshield.
Which is why I went up the street and got a car wash right away.
Yeah.
I don't want a penis on the side of my road, on the side of my car. It's bad enough I got one in the driver's seat.
That's how I want people to remember me. A penis drawing.
That's it?
You know how like people who pass away and you're like, oh, every time I see a cardinal, it reminds me of my grandmother. Or every time I see a deer, it reminds me of my mother.
Yeah, here lies Steve Nagle.
Yeah.
He once drew a penis on Bax's car.
Right, but like, listen, anytime you see a good penis drawing, that's Steve Nagle thinking about you. He's visiting you. That's how I tell my kids. You want to remember your old man? Next time you see a penis drawing, that's him saying hi.
He would have wanted it that way.
He would have wanted it that way.
It's 8:59 at Rock 102.